So, would you like to share any points that you remember from yesterday's session? What was the session about, broadly speaking? What is the broad topic that we are discussing?
Nature of human nature.
Yes, we are discussing nature of human behavior. Specifically, yesterday, what we discussed was the nature of, you could say, human nature. Why do people do what they do? In terms of why are people specifically who they are? So, any points within that?
We talked about the divine and demoniac nature and how most of us are somewhere in between, muddling through.
Yeah, most of us are in between. We talk about the muddle in the middle. Thank you. Then anything else?
Talked about judgmental versus sentimental.
Yes. So when we try to figure out people, when people come in front of us, we may be sentimental or completely based on first impressions of how the people are, or we may have our perceptions about them based on their group identity, which override even our impressions. So in between is being rational, trying to be. Now, rational, when I use the word, it does not mean that emotions are not important. It's that emotions are one resource for understanding, one resource for decision making. They should not become the sole source of decision making. Okay. Any other points?
How tolerance can lead us to transcendence.
Yes, how tolerance can lead us to transcendence. Thank you. So now, today, the way we are building up is that first we understand people's nature. That is the first session. The second session is today is we are trying to understand people's behavior. Behavior means when people do certain things. Say when somebody gets angry, at that particular, what's going on? Why are they getting angry like that? If somebody suddenly feels depressed or suddenly somebody makes an impulsive decision. So that's what we will discuss. And then tomorrow we will be discussing an activity about mistakes. When people make mistakes, how do we deal with those mistakes? Those mistakes can be of various categories, and we'll go into that also. So let's, with respect to behavior, in general, if you look at our own behavior or look at other people's behavior, so what do you think are the factors that impel our behavior? Broadly speaking,
Our samskaras.
Samskaras, the impressions that we have from, it could be the past life in this life, or it could be previous lives itself. So yes, our samskaras are there, definitely impressions. So anything else?
Sangati.
It's our association. Yes, Sangati. Anything else, please?
Our thoughts.
Yes, you could say the thoughts in the moment. Like sometimes they ask, what were you thinking? And sometimes it's a rhetorical question. That is just a judgment saying that you're thoughtless. How could you be so thoughtless? But sometimes it could be an inquiry. What were you thinking when you talk like that or when you did like that? What were you thinking? So our thoughts at the moment also affect us. Anything else?
Environment.
Environment. So is the environment different from the association?
Circumstances.
Yeah. So the situation or circumstances, we could say that sometimes the situations that we are in, they impel us, they prompt us. So to act in particular ways. Generally, we say if somebody goes to a party where everybody's drinking, maybe they don't want to drink, but everybody's drinking, they feel okay. It's not so much that somebody is coming consciously and telling them to drink. but it's just that they don't want to be the odd person out. So, and it's not a bad principle to have an environment affecting our decisions, because as they say, do with Rome as Romans do. Now, that doesn't mean if Romans are committing suicide, we have to commit suicide. But there are many sayings like this. It is one saying, do in Rome as Romans do. There is, take the less beaten path, take the path less traveled, be a trailblazer. There are many things like that. The conventional quotes and proverbs can have opposing wisdom. Any other factors? Desires, okay. We could say thoughts, we can go into desires. So behavior means we're talking about it's more specific actions, not just the broad orientation of the person, but the specific actions that they have. Now, of course, when we use the word impressions, we could also use the word nature. So nature definitely affects the behavior. But it's that nature is not like a fixed thing by which we can completely predict how a person will behave at all times. Yeah, some people might be introverts, but sometimes they may want to go out and meet with people. Some people are extroverts, but some people are saying, I want my own time right now. So nature is one parameter which determines behavior. It is a significant parameter, but it's not a sole parameter. So now, these are a good overview of factors. Let's try to see one incident from the Ramayana, which illustrates our routine behavior, their behavior in routine situations and in emergency situations. Now, in routine situations, it may not have that much critical consequences, isn't it? Say, if we have to make a phone call and we delay, okay, I'll make it after 1 hour, that's okay. But if somebody has met with a serious accident and we have to call 911 and we delay that call, that will have far greater consequences. So somebody may delay it because they're careless, somebody may delay it because they're so overwhelmed and confused and don't know what to do. So our behavior in emergency situations is often critical for our future. What do we do at that time? Now, we can't predict in advance how we will act in emergency situations. But what we can do is that if our routine behavior is in a particular way, then it is a fair chance that we will behave better even in emergency situations. One of my friends in California is a firefighter. Now, he used to told me that even experienced firefighters, if they are called to a site of a fire, which is a huge conflagration, sometimes even they panic, or at least there's some alarm at that time. But by training, because of their training, their instincts kick into picture and they recover faster. Younger firefighters, newer firefighters, they just freeze. They have a fire hose with them, water hose with them, and just drop it. So basically, going towards healthier choices in emergency situations, it's a matter of training. So we could say we could have unhealthy reactions, and we can have healthy responses. And in some ways, this journey primarily happens through training. And training has many aspects to it. But yesterday, what I talked about, I concluded there are two principles that whatever be one's nature, one can elevate one's behavior by two principles. Do you remember the two principles?
Diligence and distance.
Yes, good. Diligence and distance. So, these two principles apply for everyone. Diligence means let me just persist in doing the right thing. So in the firefighting drills, somebody repeatedly does the drill properly. And then when they are in a situation, okay, I've been in fires before, this fire is another fire will come and go. let me be a new object, let me not get caught in the emotional situation. So distance means basically you don't get caught in the emotions. That's a part of training. Now, this is not that the whole training is comprehensive about it, but uh, these are important aspects. Basically, by training, everyone can improve their behavior. But when things come up in an emergency, at that time, so today we'll be discussing about two main principles. One is blaming versus taking responsibility. What is the differentiation between them? And the other is judging versus being judgmental. These two principles broadly we will be discussing. So, the incident that we'll be discussing today is about one of the most traumatic incidents in the Ramayana. That is the abduction of Sita. See, many times in our life things go wrong. And when things go wrong, mm, when things go wrong, it could be because of our mistakes, it could be our actions, you could say, it could be others' mistakes. Mm. Beyond that, it could be others' malice. Mistakes indicates that the person had good intention but did something wrong. But malice is where they wanted to hurt us. Mm. And then it could also be natural circumstances. Mm. So now we could say sometimes we may also have malice. So we could put these two and three in some ways together. It could be others' mistake or others' malice. And our mistake and our malice. So these are in the Vedic tradition is called our mistakes. These is called adhyatmik. Klesha, when things go wrong, that causes klesha. Klesha is distress. So distress can come because of our own mind and our own actions. They cause hurt to us. Then there could be other mistakes. That is called as, does anyone know the word? Adi Bhautik. So Bhautik refers to people around us. And then there are natural circumstances. So for example, if it's freezing cold, and that's true. But if it's freezing cold, and at that time, maybe we forgot to buy warm clothes before that, or we forgot to have adequate battery backup power when it becomes cold. That's our own mistake. Mm. But we told someone to do that and they forgot to do that. That's their mistake. But maybe some terrorists came and blew up the power line. Mm. And because of that, in cold, there's no meter. Then that's not just another person's mistake, that's their malice. So this is Adi David. So the worst situations are when all three get combined. So distress can come upon us from various situations. And at such times, it is very easy to either blame others, blame ourselves, blame nature, and all these can be unhealthy reactions. So let's look at this particular situation from this perspective. Ram and Sita had come to the forest because they had been exiled, and Lakshman came with them. And they stayed for almost a major part of their exile. How long was their exile? 40 years, yes. So a major part of their exile, they stayed in Chitrakoot. Chitrakoot, Adriniketan, Rama. The Nam Ramayana is described how various places Lord Ram visited. And then, toward the end of their exile, the last 2 3 years, they decided to come a little bit more southwards. So they came to a place which is mostly in the Nasik area in Maharashtra, India. Let the Kavanjin Avanjirama. They came to the first. And now they knew that this area was infested more and more with forests. So Ram, he initially wanted, he said that when he came to the forest, he saw it as an opportunity to enrich himself with spiritual wisdom by associating with sages. And when sages, he would be to talk with them, and he and Sita came very close to each other in the forest. They were always close to each other, but they're always surrounded by people and their royal responsibilities. Now they had nothing, and they stayed together, came very close to each other. But then Lord Rama saw that there are many places where demons were terrorizing the sages. And there's a place called Rampik where he saw that the pile of bones had been kept. So it's one thing to commit atrocities to persecute others, but it's another to leave visible signs of their atrocity. So by that it creates terror. So the demons had done that, and Lord Ram decided this is not a one-off thing. He says if they have deliberately piled up the the bones of the sages that they had devoured. While I'm in the forest, I will do my duty to try to protect the sages. So he came southward. Now there's a big series of events that happened, starting from Shurpankhar. But eventually, Ravan decided that he wanted to abduct Sita. When Ravan made this plan, he had his male hubris, his male ego. And initially, his plan was not so much to abduct Sita as to attract Sita. He had such an ego, he said, I am such a powerful, successful, wealthy person. What woman will ever refuse me? So he thought, if I can just get Sita alone, I will win her over. So he was ready to abduct her, but that was not his first plan. His plan was just to get her alone and then to allure her. So he planned that he would have Ram and Lakshman sidelined. He set this plan in motion through one of his associates. What was his name? Marich. So Marich took on the what form?
Deer.
Yes. What kind of deer?
Gold.
Yes. Incredibly attractive deer. And when the deer came outside Ram's helmet, he decided to play around. Sita saw that. And her heart was charmed. This such an attractive deer. And she called Ram. Ram, come and see. Lakshman also came. And she said, isn't this beautiful deer? And Ram was watching this indeed. Spellbindingly attractive. Then Sita said, can you get that deer for me? See, I can have it as a pet with me for the rest of our forest stay. And then when we go back, we can take this as a memento and we can gift it to Mother Kaushalya. So if you look at how things we generated. Now if you look at Sita's desire, was there anything wrong in that desire? Well, not really. You could say at best, at the least it was a harmless desire. This sounds right. You could even say it was a selfless desire. She wanted something as a gift from the forest for her mother. So sometimes when things start going wrong, at what point they actually go wrong? It's difficult to detect that. Now, as they were watching, Lakshman came along. And Lakshman was immediately suspicious. He says, we been in the forest for a long time. We have never seen any deer like this. This looks suspiciously like a demon who may have taken on the garb of a deer. And look around, you see that no other creatures are playing around it. A deer is not a threat, but this deer is a threat. So Sita looked at Lakshman and says, Lakshman, you are too suspicious. It's just a harmless deer, it's so sweet. Why do you have to be so suspicious? He said, Ram, can you please get this deer for me? Ram looked at Sita, I saw her eager, expectant face. And he thought that throughout this forest, Sita has been so forbearing, so understanding. She didn't have to come with me. She came with me. She was a support for me. She's practically never asked me for anything. She's asked me for this. Now, how can I say no? So then Ram said, Lakshman, you stay with Sita and guard her. I'll go and get that deer. Now, here we can say Ram's departure. Now, his departure, was that a mistake? Well, it is just a natural reciprocation figure. There was some concern, but Ram can deal with it. So, it's both of these things, whether it is really wrong, it's difficult to decide. But then, after that, when Ram went to catch the deer, he just charged towards the deer, started running away. That's understandable. No wild animal wants to be caught. But then, as Ram was chasing, the deer kept bounding away. Just when Ram seemed to be closing in on it, you just take a giant leap. And when deer are fast, deer are not generally capable of such giant leaps. And slowly, Ram started becoming suspicious. Hey, what's happening over here? That is this a real deer? How did it jump like this? And Ram kept going further and further. And the deer would sometimes appear as if it's tiring, it's slowing down, and Lord Ram would come tantalizingly close to the deer, just about to catch it. And suddenly, just take one giant leap and go far away. And this happened again and again and again. Now, while Ram was running physically, Lakshman's words were there in his mind. And he was himself a warrior. He could also assess situations. Said something is fishy. I've come so far, let me catch this deer. Then we deal with it. But then he just kept going further and further and further. And finally, when he had just got to the deer and he was about to stretch one arm forward and catch its tail. And at that moment, it stretched forward and then this was catching empty air. And the deer had gone way ahead. And the deer looked behind. And it almost seemed as if that deer was looking at him with a mocking smile. So when he saw that, this is not a real deer. This must be a demon. He had no plan till now to kill the deer. But he decided enough is enough. This tricked me. So then he put an arrow on his bow and then shot. He's known as Amogha, one whose arrows never miss the target. And the arrow went straight towards the deer. The deer was wounded severely. It screamed. And then suddenly, as it changed its form, it appeared in the form of a demon. So generally, when living beings have the power, they acquire some power by some mystical means to change their form. But when they are in pain, then all that energy goes from maintaining their form, maintaining the form they have taken, to just maintaining their life. That's why the facade disappears. It's like somebody might be a spy and they might speak with a different accent or speak in a different language. And they might maintain that facade. But if suddenly they're beaten severely, they're wounded, they'll call out in pain. At that time, they'll call out the natural language. So like that, the natural form comes up. But then this demon then spoke, or rather screamed aloud in a voice that perfectly mimicked the voice of Ram. What did the demon say? Lakshman, Sita! Primarily called for Lakshman for help. He called out. Sita on the other side. Sita and Lakshman had been waiting eagerly. First with eagerness, then with anxiety, then with almost panic. This was what Sita's emotions were doing. It's like when Sita, initially, there was just a desire. Then from their desire, it became concern. It's like say, we know a storm is going to come, but we need something for, we need some food item for cooking for some delicacy we are planning. There's someone in the family is going to get it. We say, there's a storm over here. Like, this is stall nearby, just stop here, just go and quickly get it. Okay, they go. And then we expect them to come back in 10 minutes, and it's 15 minutes, half an hour, it's 1 hour. Then what happens is, our concern starts increasing. We start becoming anxiety. And then from anxiety, when she heard Ram's voice calling out desperately, that led her to panic. Now it was not just panic, it was panic combined with a little bit guilt. I sent him there. It is my desire because of which he went there. Normally, if we love and care for someone, we don't want that person to ever be hurt. But if we send them into danger, then we feel an even greater sense of responsibility and culpability. So she became desperate. And she said to Lakshman, your brother is calling you, why are you not going? Yes, that is not my brother. Dad, I know my brother. He cannot be in danger. Good. Sometimes when we are in anxiety, when we are agitated, and we go to someone and we tell our agitation. And now, what happens is the human mind is very curious. That the other person may have an intention of calming us down, and that's why they may first stay calm. But sometimes, if I am agitated and the other person stays calm, what happens is first I am agitated about what has happened, and then I am agitated about why you are not agitated. Why are you not taking this seriously? So, Sita's, what happened was her agitation, it became compounded. It became almost square. Why is Lakshman so calm? Why is he not taking this so seriously? This is not wrong. This is just a human impersonation. She says, no, I heard that voice. You think I cannot recognize Ram's voice? That was Ram's voice. He says, no, Ram is in no danger. What if he is in danger? He told me to stay here and cover me. He says, I am in no danger right now. It is he who is in danger. Please go there. Lakshman just was completely unmoved. And Lakshman also, he had to be on guard. He suspected that there was some conspiracy afoot. And that's why he didn't really pay much attention to what he does. He tried to pacify her, but he also wanted to be on the guard to see any demons should not be springing and attacking them, and there might be an ambush. So he didn't really pay that much attention to Sita. And that enraged Sita. And because of the emotionally wrought state that she was in, she felt, I have to do something. I have to get Lakshman to go to help her. Within her mind, she said, inside her, she said, why is Lakshman not going? She just felt that she just couldn't understand Lakshman's reasoning. And Lakshman didn't spend time explaining the reason. For him, it's obvious, it's a conspiracy. For him, Ram is not in danger, Sita would be in danger. So he didn't pay attention to her so much. Then, as she became desperate, when we can't make sense of other people's behavior, then we try to somehow come up with some reason to make sense of their behavior. And then, in her panic, Sita came up with a reason. And she said, I understand why you are not going. Since you have always had an evil eye on me. And you were just waiting for an opportunity. Now that Ram is in danger, you are thinking that this will be your opportunity to have your way with me. Now, when she spoke those words, Lakshman was shocked, shattered. What is speaking? Sita was so caught in her own frenzy. She just continued on a tirade of accusations. Even if Ram is dead, you will never be able to touch me. I would rather die than be touched by you. Your evil scheme will never be successful. Actually, who's speaking? She just went on a tirade. She said that, you don't know what you're speaking, but while you're speaking these words, I cannot be here with you. If you want me to go, if that is the only way, I can allay your suspicion, I'm going. But I fear that if I come back, you won't be here. Sita just didn't hear Lakshman's words, she just heard that. I'm going. He says, go immediately. And with that, Lakshman departed from there. Now, when Lakshman departed, the later retellings of the Ramayana say that he arranged a protective circle. Valmiki Ramayana doesn't mention this, but the later retellings mention that the Lakshman Rekha, which no one could enter into. When Lakshman really charged to the forest in the direction in which he had seen Ram going, and he went a significant distance, and then he heard somebody charging from the opposite direction. He held his bow more tightly. Was it that same demon? And then he saw through the clearing Ram charging towards him. He was relieved to see Ram. A part of him was still anxious, because after all, his brother. He knew nobody could defeat his brother, but still it was his brother and his anxiety was there. But that relief was short-lived. Because when he looked at Ram, he could see not just concern, but anger in Ram's face. Why? Why will that Sita? What happened? Lakshman was the emotional plight. And he couldn't even speak the words that Sita had spoken. This is what Sita said. And again, now the same thing happened. Lakshman was emotionally brought and wounded by the words Sita had spoken. But Ram said, she just spoke out of emotion. Why did you take it so serious? And Ram started charging towards. So now Lakshman was terribly wounded, and he realized that Sita could be taken in charge by the time they reached Sita, the hermitage, they found there was no one there. But at this point, the Lakshman went out his anger. It serves her right. She accused me like this. He said, it serves her right that she got this. No, he didn't do that. Even after a year or so later, when they met again, at that time, he didn't say, okay, when are you going to apologize for what you accused me? He didn't say that. Why? Because there's a fundamental principle that don't see intention in what is spoken in tension. When somebody speaks something in intention, Don't seek attention with that. So sometimes some words that people speak which just reflect this light. Everybody has bad moments. And in bad moments they can speak things that they don't mean. Now we say you didn't mean it, but it hurt me. Yeah, it's true it hurt me. But I understand that this is not coming from a deep place within them. It's just circumstantial. So there are times when we need to be kind to each other in our relationship. We should let some actions go. Let some actions just don't hold it against you. One of the worst things that can happen for a relationship is that we repeatedly keep bringing back the wrongs that people had done in the past. Now, love doesn't keep a score. You did this to me. Now, that doesn't mean it's blind. But it's important that from his perspective, Lakshman didn't focus on, oh, you hurt me, it sounds like there's a bigger concern over it. Where is Sita? So we're discussing about whose mistake. Now, if we move forward, Ram's departure, then Sita's accusation. Now, was that a mistake? Well, you can say it was definitely a wrong accusation, but you can say it was understandable. It is an understandable outburst. What she did, it's terrible, but it's understandable. Now, Lakshman's departure. Now, was that a mistake? Well, again, you could say it is an understandable action. It was, what happened was that what she did, what he did, they just couldn't bear to be there. Now, let's go back and see what happened with Sita. Now, while Sita was waiting, then suddenly she saw a sage coming up. Now, Ravan had been waiting, and he saw him lurking in the background. He saw his plan had worked to perfection. And he's very happy. He came forward on stage, and then he said to Sita, Iksham, he says, I'm hungry, please give me some food. Now, see, the nature of the world is that, see, when we do something good, we expect some good results. When we do something bad, we understand that we might get some bad results. And it is that what hurts us very much is if we do something good for someone and that person abuses our goodness, exploits our goodness, and does something bad to us. So this is what Ravan did to Sita. Ravan said, I'm looking and Sita folded her hands, offered her respectfully, and she said, please wait, my husband will come back in a few minutes, and then he will serve you food. And Sita was just pacing in anxiety, waiting for Ram to come. And as Ravan was watching her, he had heard about her beauty and that itself captivated him. But now, when he beheld her actual form, the grace with which she walked, the beauty of her being, his heart was completely smitten. He said, I have to have her in some way or the other. And then he tried to step in. And suddenly he realized some kind of obstacle over here. He felt that suddenly there was a fire. And he said, what is this? He said that this is a protective circle which is being put. Okay. So now Ravan, there are different narratives which are described in different places. But initially, what happens is Ravan has this ego. He comes forward, and when he can't come forward, he tries to prey on her weakness. And what is the prey on her weakness? He tells her that actually, I'm extremely hungry. How long will you make the sage wait like this? Please give me something. Just wait for a few minutes. And this is, oh, I'm hungry right now. If you do you want that you and your family should be become offenders to a sage? Do you want to get a curse because you offended a sage? Can you just step out and give me some food? Now what was he doing? Sita had a service attitude. And he weaponized that service attitude. He exploited that service attitude. And Sita started considering that actually he is already Ram has gone out there for my sake. And while I'm here, I cannot get Ram to more trouble. So he said, okay, let me do something. So now it was Sita when she came out, it was not out of her recklessness, it was her service attitude. Because of which she came out. Now when she came out of that protective circle, that's when Ravan decided to allure her. And then he started praising her beauty in very explicit terms. Sita was shocked. This was definitely not the kind of words a sage was expected to speak. And when Ravan saw that his words were not having a desirable effect, she was not becoming shy or pleased or demure, and she was becoming upset. Then he started, why is the sage speaking like this? And then he actually was so infatuated by her beauty that he had forgotten he was in the garb of a sage. He was thinking that, I'm crazy. And then he looked out and said, I'm a sage. Oh, okay, the garb of a sage. Then he just started speaking. He says, actually, you don't know who I am. I am Ravan. I am the king of the demons. I have a golden kingdom. I have more wealth than you can ever even have dreamt of seeing. I will make you my chief. That Sita had been married. That was just the insignificant inconvenience for him. It was not a deterrent at all. So, when still he was bragging about his wealth, Sita was shocked. Just thinking of stepping back into the luxury again. But then, when he saw that even his bragging about his wealth did not have any effect, he's thinking, why is she not being attracted to me? Why is she not being impressed by me? And typically, when a boy wants to woo a girl, he'll praise her beauty, he'll brag about his wealth. And then, okay, she's still not even interested in me. Maybe she's interested in someone else. Then what does the boy do? Trash the competition. So he started criticizing Ram. He says, what can Ram do for you? He supposed to be a prince, but he's been reduced to a beggar. And he let himself become a beggar without a fight. He didn't give you anything. He says, you give him up. And this time, all this, when we are describing it, all this happened very rapidly. Within a few moments. So this, when Sita heard him criticizing Ram, she became angry. She said, you despicable creature, you came to the garb of a sage. Once my husband comes, he will destroy you. Don't speak, don't you dare speak ill of him. That's when Sita tried to get back into the Lakshmana, but Ravana bounced on her and he grabbed her. So he grabbed her and he summoned his chariot. His chariot came. Sita started screaming, calling out for Ram, calling out for Lakshmana. But they were all too far away. And no one dared stop Ram. And as she was screaming, suddenly she saw Chaitanya nearby. The time was all a vulture bird, Rudra Devasansi, and he had been a friend of Dashrath Maharaj. So he had almost a paternal relationship with Sita and Ram. So he's look at the Jatayu, And she, although she was emotionally distraught, still she was a warrior princess. She immediately assessed the situation. Jatayu, don't try to stop Ravana. Tell Ram that I've been abducted. Now, to her dismay, Jatayu flew immediately straight towards Ravana. And he tried to chide Ravana. He says, what? You are coming like a coward against Sita. If you have any courage, challenge Ram to a fight. Ravan had no interest in it. Hearing Jatayu. For him, it was just like sometimes we are going walking along and there is some bumblebee that comes along, there's a buzzing sound. This will go away. He paid no attention. As Sita was watching, Jatayu attacked. Ravan initially had no intention of fighting Jatayu. This is the same. So Jatayu's attack. Now Jatayu actually, that story itself is extraordinary. He initially fought and it seemed as if he was going to have a stupendous victory. Because his attack with such speed and such power, he destroyed Ravana's chariot, he killed his charioteer, he destroyed his mules, he ripped apart his arms, he dragged Ravana by his hair. Even Ravana was shocked. But Ravana realized that Jatayu is much more powerful than me, but he also realized that there's a time to win through strength, and there is a time to win through patience. So he decided in sports, like there's winning ugly. What does winning ugly mean? That you may not be a better player than the opposite player, but if you know the opposite player is weak, maybe they got some injury, you get tired. So deliberately tire out the opposite player. They're tired out, they just come to sleep. So Jatayu comes sweeping down on Ravana, attacking. Ravana just dodged the attack. And Jatayu would go away. And again he would keep coming in. And all along, Ravana was moving. Then finally, when Ravana's chariot was destroyed, Ravana came down. And this seemed to be a big victory for Jatayu. That Ravana will not get again. But unfortunately, what seemed to be a victory, that itself paved the way to the defeat. So what happened when Ravana was in the air, Jatayu would just march out, sweep down on him, sweep up to him, and sneak away after attacking. But now, Jatayu had to come down and then go up. And this meant it required more energy. And Ravana was just waiting. He was waiting, dodging and waiting and dodging. And he was noticing that each time Jatayu was just going back, it was becoming slower and slower. And finally, he grabbed the opportunity. He let Jatayu believe that, that Ravana was on the defensive. But Ravana was not on the defensive. He was just waiting for the opportunity. He was a cunning warrior. So as Jatayu was moving up, he just darted with blinding speed and used his sword to the wing of Jatayu. Jatayu started somehow. He tried to keep moving forward. But the mood was severe. Ruthlessly, Ravana knocked off the other wing. And Jatayu crumbled to the ground. Sita was aghast. She was dismayed that Jatayu was mortally wounded. And what she had told Jatayu, why would people listen to me? Why did they listen to me? There's no time. Ravana grabbed her. Sita ran and tried to hold on to a tree. Ravana was too strong. He slipped out of the tree. He used his own mystic power to fly. Now, when this happened, Sita was screaming, crying herself hoarse, but nobody came to her help. And by the time Ram and Lakshmana came, it was just too late. So, Ram and Lakshmana were devastated. They looked around, so what happened? Where is Sita? They could see some signs of a scuffle, but it was a really minor scuffle. And they could see Then they started searching nearby. There was no sign of anything. And then eventually they searched and found Sita. But what did Sita do? The Sita was lost. How will they ever find me? But even within her situation, she remained resourceful. She was calling out, she realized that she can't just keep calling out. But whenever you're going high on the airways, she saw deep down there were some strange looking creatures. They look like monkeys, but they also look like almost human beings. And she called out, help, help. She realized it was holding on to straws. There was no way they were going to help. It was so high up. When they looked up, she saw they had kind looking faces. So she quickly took some of her ornaments and ripped a part of her cloth, tied it to the ornament of the cloth and threw it. So she was leaving some clue for her. Although she was helpless in that situation, but she was not hopeless. See, it was her resourcefulness with which she tried to do something. Eventually, when Ram came in search for Sita, that's when he actually found met spirit and he saw the ornaments. So that's a whole different story. But let's take a step back and let's look at the story a little bit more. So generally, when people do something, what happens is when our actions are there, our actions are driven by two broad factors. There is our intelligence, is associated with our reason, and there is our mind, is associated with our emotion. And these are two factors. I'm showing them outside, but both of them are inside us. And these two factors determine our decisions. Now, ideally, both of them should work in the same direction. Sometimes what happens is our intelligence points in one direction, our emotion points in another direction. Now, you could say what happened here was Lakshman's intelligence was pointing in one direction, Sita's emotion was pointing in another direction. So sometimes conflicts occur because of this. And sometimes there's not just external conflict, there may be internal conflict also. So when there are disagreements, when there are disagreements between people, it's important that we contextualize the disagreement. That, say, when there is a disagreement. So there could be, it's a superficial disagreement, okay. No, I want to wear these kind of clothes, you want to wear that kind of clothes. No, I want to watch this TV program, you want to watch that TV program. By that time also it was cause of fighting. But, oh, I want to read this food, you want to read that. But that's superficial. There are disagreements, and disagreements at one level are natural. Because we are just different people. Two people, every people may have different values. And they're natural, but if they are inconsequential, it really doesn't matter so much. But then beyond that, there are disagreements which are much more consequential. They are about big issues. But at least they need to be understood. That means I don't agree with what you're saying, but I at least understand where you're coming. So sometimes the difference between agreeing and understanding will be forgotten. Sometimes they may be not even understand, they may be incomprehensible. Why does this person think like this? Why does this person talk like this? Why does this person think like this? But it's not a big thing. I don't really care about it. But beyond that is unacceptable. Incomprehensible, I can't understand it, but it doesn't matter so much. Why do you think like this? Okay, it's a different issue. I have a different, it doesn't matter. But it becomes unacceptable. It's like, when does it become unacceptable? It's rarely because of intellectual disagreements. Like say two people have a disagreement. I have tried to do mediation many times. And say, right in the beginning itself, sometimes we can make out whether this mediation will work on. So say if one person is giving an explanation and the other person is rolling their eyes at the explanation, that indicates that basically you don't trust other persons. It's like I may not trust your intelligence, but I trust your intentions. They're two different things. It's like everybody can make a bad judgment call. But so we can, when we disagree and we question. So if I can question your actions, that is not a good thing to do. But then you explain to me, okay, yeah, that's a reasonable thing to do. In that situation, I didn't know about it. But then I can question your intelligence. That is a dumb thing to do. And why did you think about this? You didn't think about that. Okay, but that can also be fixed by experience. Okay, you are maybe a little other. But when we start questioning the other person's intentions, and you wanted to hurt me, you did this deliberately because you get joy in hurting me, in troubling me. Then, here at this level, reconciliation is possible. When we start doubting the other person's intention itself, then reconciliation becomes impossible. Now, sometimes the doubt may be warranted also. Like there was no reconciliation possible between Ravan and Ram because Ravan's intention itself was evil. So there was reconciliation possible between, say, Kaikai and Ram, or even Kaikai and Bharat, because although Kaikai did something wrong, it was her intelligence that didn't corrupt it. Her intentions were not bad. Her intention was not so much to hurt Ram. Her intention was to protect Bharat. What she thought were Bharat's interests. So generally speaking, when we give others the benefit of the doubt, that means that we need to don't doubt other people's intentions. Does that mean we should never doubt them? Yes, we need to question other people's intentions also. But if right from the beginning itself, I knew you were like this only. That is, we just go down right to the intentions of the person. That destroys relationships. So, well, sometimes our intelligence may be overcome by our emotions. Sometimes, so you're not thinking clearly. Okay, yeah, I may not admit it immediately, but you'll admit it. So, although Sita heard a grievous accusation in Lakshman, everybody could have been angry with everyone over here. Lakshman would have said to Ram, "Why did you listen to me in the beginning only? I told you it was a demon, it was not a deer." Sita didn't listen to you, but at least you could have listened to me. And Lakshman could have got angry with Sita. Sita could have got angry with Ram. Ram could have got angry with Lakshman. I told you stay there. Why did you stay there? So everybody can get angry with everyone else. But the point is, although this was a devastating incident, it did not break their relationship with each other. And that was because they trusted each other's good intentions. Now, good intentions don't necessarily mean the actions will be good. As they say, often the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So, good intentions are no guarantee of good actions. But good intentions are a reasonable foundation for the reconciliation. So that's one point. That's it. That we when we give people the benefit of the doubt, don't doubt their intentions. Now let's look at Sita's perspective. Now was Sita wrong? There is a very terrible tendency when something goes wrong to blame the victim. Victim blaming, victim shaming is a terrible thing. And the Valmiki Ramayana leaves absolutely no room for that. Because in one sense, there is no Major Lakshman Rekha over there. So Sita was just defenseless and she was attacked. Later retellings do leave some room for that. But that is not the focus. there is a difference. As I said, that sometimes when we do good and we get something bad happening to us, it's very painful. So now, when we are functioning, it's one side because we need to be caring, we need to be extending, we want to help others. And that's just a normal human existence. But while being caring, we also need to be careful. If we are caring too much, that we may become endangered. So sometimes caring too much can put us in a place where we are compromising our own basics, our own safety. If you're too careful, hmm, that can just make us hard-hearted. I am just so careful, I don't care for anyone else at all. So they consider an example of a doctor. A doctor is in a, say, a pandemic zone, and the doctor has to treat people. Now, if they're caring, they will not just take leave and stay away and not go to the hospital. But when they are going there, they're caring, but they also need to be careful. That, okay, I am going to reduce over here. I need to make sure that I have the proper immunity, that I am wearing the mask, I am doing proper sanitation practices. So there is a balance of being caring and careful. So it's not so much of blaming Sita, but if we are going to be learning from the incident, then Sita could have considered that what kind of sage would, sage is supposed to be self-controlled, what kind of sage would not understand her situation? Would he, just because he's hungry, would he be ready to curse a defenseless woman? Would he, of course, sages are sometimes short-tempered. While those stories are there in the epics. But the point is that those are exceptions. And it's, okay, do I want to serve this, but is this sage actually manipulating me? She had no experience of sages doing something. So Ravan actually came in the garden of sage and just exploited her weak point. Emotional manipulation, emotional abuse. All that happens when something good within us is subverted. Something good within us is exploited. So while she has to be caring, it's not so much a question of whether what she did was wrong, but what could have been done right. So while being cared, so she's alone in the forest. They already know that this is the age of infested by demons. She already can sense that there has something afoot over here. That she had herself sent Lakshmana away because she feels there is danger. And Lakshmana has warned her that there could be a conspiracy here. So that could have caused her some hesitation. Did it cause? Maybe, maybe not. But she did not. So there is a difference between it's taking responsibility for our choices. So I said I talk about the difference between blaming and taking responsibility. So that's not the blaming means now we could blame somebody else, could blame Lakshman, we could blame Ram, we could blame Sita. Blaming means, it's like a unifactor analysis where we pin the whole problem on one person's actions. Blaming is generally unhealthy. Say, for example, if we are doing some work in our home and we hear some kid, some small child playing, and we look out and we see our neighbor's son, 7 years old, playing on the streets. He should not be playing on the street. And then part of us thinks that maybe I should go and tell that child to play inside the boat and not on the street. Maybe I should call his mother and tell him. But then say, we have some other things to do, so we get busy in our work and we like that. And suddenly we hear a screech of a car, and then we hear a thud, and then we hear a scream, and we run out. And then we see that that child has been injured by a car. And nobody would consider us legally culpable for the child accident. But would we not feel morally responsible? Morally, yes. Maybe I could have done something to prevent this. So the point is, there is a difference between blaming. Now, whenever you knew this, why did not do this? Well, no, I could have done this. I should have done this. So there is taking responsibility is about learning. Learning what I could do better. So even our virtues can be abused and exploited. So we have to be careful. Yesterday I talked about tolerance. Tolerance is a virtue. But tolerance should not go to such an extreme that it becomes something which confines us and limits us and suffocates us. Service attitude is good. All virtues are good. There is virtues are in life to function, you don't just need one virtue. We need many virtues. And all the virtues have to work in harmony. Which virtue is more important? Also doing our own work and not poking other people's business. That's a virtue. But sometimes virtue also means for somebody else's business, I take my business. It's not my child, but it's my neighbor's child. I have to take care. So learning about when we have virtues, we are not only the virtues, we need a hierarchy of virtues. Which virtue is more important? Which virtue is less important? So Sita had the virtue of caring of service attitude, but that virtue of being careful that got compromised. So for us, when we study these stories, we could just look at these as simple stories, and okay, this happened and that happened. But we uncover these stories, we go deeper into these stories. Then we can see there are layers of wisdom and insight to be unpacked from there. And that way, what we learn over here in today's session is that our emotion can sometimes take over our reason. Sometimes for Sita, her emotion just overshadowed her reason. For Lakshman, initially, his reason was so strong that he didn't care for Sita's emotion. And then after that, his emotion became so strong that, that his reason was over because Sita had it. So life is complicated. And when we are blaming, the last word I completed that. Blaming, we try to see through others. You are like this, you are like that. When we take responsibility, our focus is on, we try to see others through. Life is tough and we need to help each other. That, okay, this adversity has come, let us stick together and let us now see how best we can deal with it. So Sita, she was not with Ram, but she took her steps to try to give some clues for Ram. But this way, in adversity either can bring us together if we don't start doubting each other's intentions. Or if we start questioning each other's intention and casting aspersion on each other based on that, adversity can shatter us. So in one session, today we discussed broadly about giving the benefit of the doubt and not blaming people for their actions. But is it that people should never be held responsible for their actions? Was Ravana not to be blamed for attacking Sita? When should people's actions be overlooked and forgiven? And when should people be held accountable for their actions? That's what we were discussing in the last session. So I'll summarize what we discussed. Broadly, we discussed 3 points that adversities come upon us. Klesha comes, it can be by multiple causes, it can be our own actions, it can be others' actions, it can be natural situations, or it can be a combination of both. So when bad things happen, as they will inevitably happen, we need to try to make the best of that situation. So how do we make the best? In that connection, we discussed the incident of the abduction of Sita. So every one of the characters, we discussed the chain of event that led to. It was first, we could go behind and say, there was Ravan's conspiracy that set it all off. Then there was, within that, Sita's desire came out. Then, like that, each of these actions, Ravana's conspiracy necessarily was wrong, but Ram's departure. Which of these actions was really wrong? Sometimes it's very difficult to decide. Sita's accusation because it was wrong, but she didn't understand it. Then Lakshman's departure, that was also again understandable. Then Sita stepping out, that was also understandable. Jatayu's fighting, was that understandable? Jatayu felt that he had some hope. How could he live with himself if he let Sita get abducted? So he fought. So we cannot pin any one action as wrong. Of course, Ravana's conspiracy definitely. But there will always be bad people who want to do bad things. So, as good people, what can we do to protect ourselves? And bad people are trying to do bad things. So, we discussed two main things with respect to blaming versus taking responsibility. So, rather than finding when something bad has happened, rather than finding someone to blame, you did this and that's why this happened. What we try to do is we focus on trying to learn from the situation. So, learning means we don't try to see through others. See through others, we try to see others through. Others through means that this is a difficult situation, we are both in the same boat. Let's try to see how we can find out the end. See through others means basically when there's a disagreement, there will be disagreement with actions, there can be disagreement at the level of intelligence, there can be a disagreement at the level of intention. So when there's a disagreement at the level of intention, that's when we are seeing through others. You are bad. When we see others, okay, the action that you did was ill-advised, it was hasty, or you were not experienced enough. So we need to experience it. So improving our intelligence, that's what we discussed. That we can be caring, but we need to be caring, we need to be careful. And careful again means we take responsibility. So in this way, when adversities befall us, we can try to make the best of the situation that we are in without simply blaming people and trying to, and thereby making things worse or making the relationships worse. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments?
In what situation we can question the intention of the other person?
That is tomorrow. We'll be discussing it tomorrow because it's an elaborate subject. Right? It is definitely when somebody doesn't feel any regret, they actually feel joy. Like say Duryodhan, he tried to abduct, he tried to burn the Pandavas alive. Did he regret the fact that he tried to burn the Pandavas? He did regret. He regretted that his plan was not successful. So that basically we have to look at the consciousness of the person. So would Sita have regretted what she spoke to Lakshmana? Of course. Lakshmana did not hold it against her. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Prabhuji, when we Krishna. Prabhuji, when many people they disagree, then they say, okay, let's agree to disagree. And we agree to disagree so many times. How is there reconciliation?
So when we agree to disagree, can there be on many issues and can reconciliation be possible? Well, yes, if there are some shared values and shared purposes that we have. The American comedian Woody Allen, he said that my wife and I, we live in different rooms, we eat at different kitchens, we watch different TVs, we enter our homes through different doors, we drive different cars. We are doing everything possible to keep our marriage together. There is no marriage. There has to be some shared balance. In the Bhagavad Gita in 12:15, say that don't, like I said, I quoted, so don't disturb others, don't be disturbed by others. So how is that possible? Say if two people are there, now each person will have something which is non-negotiable for them. And say if I may have something which is non-negotiable for me, and you may have something which is non-negotiable for you. Now, in between is what is negotiable. So we can agree to disagree about certain things in life, but there have to be certain things which we need to respect. Okay. So when I say we agree to disagree about this, okay, these are things which I value very much. Now, if in a relationship it happens that say the one person says everything is non-negotiable, then there is no relationship possible. That if one person making all the demands and is expecting that the other person should make all the adjustments. Even a guru does not have the right to do that towards a disciple or to take over the family relationship. And now when Guru says to another guru that I have been dishonored, I can't just overlook this dishonor, this wound. Guru says, okay, all right. You want to be the bigger than your fathers? I will do that. So each person has to be individually honest and say, okay, this is not negotiable. And then we try to understand, okay, why is it not negotiable? Why is it so important for you? Okay. But then within that, then we need to negotiate. So there are some things, so basically what I mean is, with respect to this and this, we may agree to disagree. In the sense that I will respect you if this is what you prioritize. But there has to be something within which is negotiable. Okay. Let's, sometimes I may change my position, or you may change my position. So, in that way, if we have some shared values and some shared purposes, then it is generally how does a relationship develop? There has to be something in common. So either we are working together based on some values. Generally, values and purposes go together, but they can be something similar. We want to achieve something. We have values could also refer to some interests. Purposes could refer to some goals, some projects, whatever it is. So we have to find out what is common. Generally, the foundation of a relationship is what do we share. And then after that, what is different, we understand. Sometimes in our world today, see, in many ways, when our world has become more comfortable, if you consider that 200, 300 years ago, 100 years ago, as compared to that, life is much more comfortable. And sometimes the flip side of comfort is that we lose a sense of perspective. That some small things become very important. I mean, let them become very important. So in the past, people would come to with friends or family or whatever. Life was tough. If somebody is living in a place where there are blizzards and you're in the forest or you're in the rural kind of setting, there's so many challenges that husband, wife, or parents, children, or friends, or family, they're all together facing the elements. But now, as we create more and more comfort for ourselves, so the external challenges don't seem to be so much. Then what happens is the mind makes small things very clear. So we need a sense of perspective. Otherwise, anybody can say everything is non-negotiable. And then, can people be incompatible? Yes. Well, nobody in this world is fully compatible. There may be degrees of incompatibility. But more important than looking at whether we are compatible or not, which is an important factor to consider about it. But it's more important to see whether we have some shared purposes. So compatibility is more about values. Sometimes the values will be different, but if we have some shared purposes, then it's possible. So when to prioritize value, when to prioritize work purposes, that's something just to be carefully contemplated.
Hare Krishna Guru. So generally when I have this discussion within my friends, question comes up often is that when Marich was trying to illusion Lakshman and Sita Mata by making the sound of Ram asking for help, we know Lord Ram can do anything. Then he could have, also shouted and said that everything is fine here. So I tend to tell that this is because of he wanted to create this Leela, just for us to learn. Is there anything beside this? I just wanted to learn from.
Yes. Leela is the most scripturally correct and logically unsatisfactory explanation. Because once you start using Leela, how far can you go? Isn't it? Everything can be called a Leela, isn't it? So that's why today morning in the class I explained that when we approach the epics, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, there are different levels at which they can be approached. So I use the acronym LEAD to explain that. L is at a literal level. The literal level people approach, their focus is only on the story. And what they seek is entertainment. Hmm? So like sometimes there's a movie review, they say this is a spoiler free review or this is a spoiler alert. Because the idea is once you know the story, there's nothing more to it. I already know the story. So like that, many people approach the Ramayana simply for entertainment. Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam. It's literal, it's good. At that level also, somehow people are remembering. There's some level of connection which is there, that's good. And then there's the ethical level. So at the ethical level, we focus on the choices. What did this person do? Why did this person do? What were they thinking? And from there, we get guidance for our own decision making. Then there is allegorical. At allegorical level, we focus on the symbolism of things. Now, when we focus on the symbolism, say for example, we are interested not so much in who is Ravan, but what is Ravan. So Ravan refers to uncontrolled lust, lust that respects no boundaries. That means at this. So at this level, we look for universal principles. Universal principles, what in Western philosophy are called as archetypes. So basically, that's an allegorical level. Then there is the devotional level. At the devotional level, the focus is on Leela. Leela means it's basically the reciprocation of divine love. That everything is arranged by the Lord for the reciprocation. So everything is a divine arrangement. And at this level, when we study, the focus is just ecstasy. That is ecstasy like divine joy, sublime spiritual joy. So we are interested only in how the Lord, by his arrangement, is creating sometimes some suspense, some obstacles, so that the pastime can become more colorful. And then there can be more suspense, more excitement, more joy. So each of these perspectives has its own value. Now, when a person is asking a question from a particular perspective, if we answer from another perspective, then it becomes frustrating. So the Leela as an answer, as I said, is not logical. Because Leela means it is God's plan or it's God's arrangement. But that's an explanation for everything. And generally, anything that explains everything in general explains nothing in particular. It's like a plane crashes. And when the plane crashes, then the committee appointed to investigate what caused the plane crash. And then some person with little mediocre knowledge of physics says, why are people spending so much time and money? I already know the answer why the plane crashed. Why did the plane crash? Because of gravity. fly in spite of gravity, isn't it? So, what we want to know at that point is why did that mechanism malfunction at that particular point? That's why when we current situation is not the relevant situation. So, coming to your specific point, see, Lord Ram is playing the leader of a human being. And within the cosmic hierarchy, while morally the demons are lower than the hierarchy can be in various ways. So from in the hierarchical perspective, from the moral perspective, humans are above the demons. The demons are considered lower. But from the physical prowess perspective, the demons are higher than humans. So Lord Rama is playing the role of a human being. And as a human being, the voice of a human being has lesser reach than the voice of a demon. So Maricha's voice reached much further. Ram's voice did not reach that. That's why he ran back. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. You briefly touched upon the conflict between Sita's emotions and Lakshman's intellect. So I have a question here. We face that challenge in ourselves, right? Sometimes our intellect is saying something and our emotion something else. So how do we think about this? Like, how do we really make that decision? Sometimes it's a fleeting second decision, right? We have to like that and make that decision really quick. And if we do not listen to our emotion and just like follow the intellect, will that not mean that we are taking the human experience out of it? And just like, would that make us like robots, like not really, taking the human component out of it? And sometimes our emotions, like when I say emotion, we can also think of it as an instinct, right? Sometimes our gut instinct or whatever we want to call it is really something talking to us, right? So how do we make that distinction and such a big decision and such in that fleeting second?
Very important question. I'll say three things over here. First is that decisions, when we take, ideally speaking, it's emotion plus reason. Both are required in existence. We are using both these faculties, mind, arpita, mano. Now, there are times when the mind is treated as an enemy, Krishna says. But then, if it is just an enemy, and say, like Israel just wants to destroy the Hamas, they treat it as an enemy. But Krishna doesn't say destroy the mind. Krishna says transform the mind into a friend. So, our emotions are themselves not considered intrinsically bad. Even the mind is not considered intrinsically bad. The mind is not our enemy. What is inside our mind is the enemy. That's some unhealthy impressions there. So emotions are not at all to be condemned or rejected. But it's, like I said yesterday, emotions are one source of information. They are one resource for our decision making. They should not become the sole source of decision making. So ideal decisions would be a combination of emotions. So generally speaking, when we are trying to do something, it's like what feels good and what is good. So ideally is we take a decision which is in this direction, a combination of what feels good and is good. So if we take only what feels good, but it is not good, it could be debilitating for us. It could be destructive for us. On the other hand, if we are only doing what is good but does not feel good, that will be exhausting for us. We cannot keep doing something which, okay, I know is good, but I just don't feel good at all about it. So now, sometimes we may have to go in one direction. Sometimes we may go in a direction where something is good, but it doesn't feel good, we do it. Sometimes something feels good, we just need some relief. Like there's entertainment. We all do some, we may have some entertainment which makes us feel good. And not that we want to spend the rest of our life just doing entertainment. But sometimes we just need that as a break. So sometimes you hear in one direction, sometimes you hear in another direction. But overall, we need to be at a place where we are in balance of both. So that's the first point. The second point is that we need to intelligence at one level means not that intelligence only is about reason. It is about reason, but it's also about a reasonable evaluation of when our emotions are trustworthy and when they are not trustworthy. So there are certain areas like we say, gut feel. So in certain areas we see that this thing works well. Or somebody may have say linguistic intelligence, somebody have musical intelligence, somebody may have artistic or aesthetic intelligence. Okay, no, let's phrase this in this particular way. Let's decorate this house in this particular way. So we all have particular kind of areas in which the first feel that comes up in us, or the first answer that comes up, the first thought that comes up, that may not be completely correct, but that's broadly in the right direction. So we observe that. We observe ourselves in the past, we see when our instincts were right, and they can be trusted and they can't be trusted. That's basically learning about ourselves. Krishna says, "Bhare We need to elevate ourselves with our mind. That means we need to observe and learn when we can trust ourselves and when we can't trust ourselves. That means can we never trust? Are there times when we should not trust ourselves? Of course. Say, if somebody is trying to recover from alcoholism, and should they trust themselves to go to a bar? Well, no. If they're serious about alcoholism, they should not trust themselves to go to a bar. Now, does that mean they should never trust themselves? No, of course not. So we all need to know when we can trust ourselves and when we can't trust ourselves. So sometimes, as I said, in the moment, sometimes we might just make a particular decision. And that's okay, we did what we could do as the best. But then we need to learn from our experience. Okay. In these areas I can't trust myself. And the third, so this kind of intelligence, self-understanding is developed by studying Shastra. When we start getting especially when we come to Sattva, when we come into a clear state of understanding, then we can get it right. And the third is we all need guidance. We need good association, we need some good friends. So they can help us look through our reasoning process or look through our thinking process. And okay, you decided based on this is where the thinking was right. So this is where the thinking was wrong. So basically, no, there is thinking that itself is difficult. Most people are not, they don't really think seriously. Better than thinking is writing. Because if we are writing, we can edit ourselves. Okay, I write something, this doesn't really make sense. But then if we are discussing, then the other person will edit us. Okay, you thought of this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And so then we have to explain ourselves, then what happens is, okay, yeah, I really didn't think this through. So we also realize our weaknesses. So they said, so thinking inside the head, like they say chanting, you can do chanting in the mind. But in the mind it is difficult. We chant aloud, the more sincere word. So like that, it is possible for us to think ourselves. But for major decisions, writing is better. And discussing with somebody who is trustworthy is even better. Because our thoughts need to edit, we edit ourselves or others edit us. Now editing, it's not the most pleasant thing. I'm a writer, I have editors. So editing is not pleasant, but the result of editing is definitely pleasant. So in writing they say, what is written without effort? Effort means all this editing process. What is written without effort is read without pleasure. Because the other was, what are you thinking? What are thoughts flowing? It's not very enjoyable. So we need editors for our thought process. Either we can ourselves be the editor, we can have others as the editors. So thank you very much for your thoughtful questions. Tomorrow, the last session, where we'll be discussing about that when somebody makes a mistake, when we can make out that it's a mistake, how do we evaluate when to forgive or when to seek justice? That will be the last session tomorrow. Thank you very much. Shri Ramachandra Bhagwan ki
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai.
Gaur Premanande. Do we have the books here?
Yes.
So much of what I spoke today is based on my latest book, the Ramayana, Living the Ramayana. Those of you not there yesterday, I'm going to a copy. So, such incidents of Ramayana analyzed and life lessons are drawn from that. There's also a calendar with 66 quotes inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. Each quote is based on one verse from the Bhagavad Gita. So, both of these are available in case if you like. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare